prosecute the Ku Klux. What? Prosecute the K's and Antifa. Oh, okay. he had to throw Antifa in there too. Baby steps, all right. Baby steps. We got a cover back somewhere. This dude, Antifa. Yeah, prosecute the K's and Antifa as terrorist organizations and make lynching a national hate crime. How come Joe Biden didn't do this? Maybe he didn't have a direct conversation with Claude Anderson, but looking at this platinum plan, bro, this was crafted by somebody that had a conversation with somebody that had very good understanding of economics. The Platinum Plan, President Trump's pillars. This was, if I recollect correctly, was inspired by something that Ice Cube put together. I know Ice Cube got a lot of flack for trying to even reason with Donald Trump. What's that guy named? Steve Harvey got flack for trying to do business or negotiate with Donald Trump, and that's not what we're supposed to do. That's like they as black people, not even celebrities, anything like that. This is what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to use their platforms. They're supposed to use their celebrity status to reach places where the regular folk can't reach, and do business and negotiate the smart way, the business-like way, and not with our feelings and emotions, with people that we may not agree with per se. And that's putting it lightly, obviously. Like I say, a lot of people want to make a case for Donald Trump being a racist. Hey, go crazy. But I'm gonna commend these brothers for talking to Donald Trump and putting together like the only thing the black Americans would have been given in this nation's freaking history since apparently these radical Republicans. And I gotta put it out there again, man. You gotta give it up to the sisters that sway these men's emotions. so they actually start caring about black people. I definitely gotta give them credit for that. All right, so yeah, the Platinum Plan, President Trump's pillars. Y'all probably muted me by now and start reading it yourselves, but I gotta make this somewhat original, man. I gotta put my own flavor in it. Anyway, so first check mark was opportunity. By achieving historic employment levels for black Americans as well as increasing access to capital for new business, President Trump has been committed to ensuring all black Americans can achieve the American dream. Okay, I believe these are just the goals for this Platinum Plan. So security, by signing into law the celebrated First Step Act, President Trump has brought common sense criminal justice reform to the American people for the first time in decades, while ensuring that our streets and communities are safe for families and business owners. Heard about that reform. That benefits all Americans, to be honest with you, right? But black people were heavily impacted by the crime bill and other things that were instilled by Democrats and Joe Biden. So it's good that it has some. It's good that our outcries. It's good that yet again our outcries as a people was permeated and echoed throughout America, so that the people in power actually instilled some fair change to some fair change to these obscene laws. The last goal here is fairness, as demonstrated through the actions of the initiative, investment into opportunity zones, as well as address health disparities. I gotta say that. I gotta say something about that real quick. Um, the health disparities is something that I've heard black women complain about over. I mean, regarding childbirth, which is something extremely important in our communities. Um, I've heard a time and time again of how bad things has kind of been going on regarding childbirth in black women, and I don't know if this is exactly what this was about. I don't know if they directly benefited from this aspect of the platinum plan, black women especially, but the people that were the people that put this in place should have been echoing this to those women. This I think this especially the health disparities and stuff like that. I think this would have definitely would have won them over had they emphasized this to do with the the problematic approaches nurses take towards dealing with black mothers or black childbirth. Anyway, wage gaps and necessary education reforms. Man, dude, oh goodness, this one. Education reforms. If there's something that every black person in America can agree on, if we can't agree on reparations and our treatment and Black Lives Matter and police brutality, we all can agree that that education systems and there's a huge education disparity happening in America. And it's, I mean, some obviously depending on who you ask, they'll point the fingers at different people, but we all can collectively agree that education and poverty-stricken communities, especially in the urban communities in Chicago and Mississippi, all over the world, all over America, is a big problem. And if Donald Trump was going to actually address that with actual resources, with tangibles, then sounds great to me. Donald Trump works every day to advance a fair and just America for the black community. That's what he says, and that's what the goals were. So let's see. Let's go into details a little bit. President Trump's promise to black America over 4 years, increased it over 4 years, and I believe this was pitched at the end of his last election. The 2020 election, and I guess we just didn't vote for him. I believe so. I'll have to look it up. If anybody in the chat knows, then that'd be great. Oh, by the way, hey, well, what's up, everybody that's tuning in? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, increased access to capital in black communities by almost $500 billion. That's not that bad, man. For a group of people that make up 14% of the United States population, that don't sound too bad. 3 million new jobs for the black community, creating $500,000 new black-owned businesses. Increased access to capital in black communities by almost $500 billion. Okay, safe urban neighborhoods with highest policing standards. Safe urban neighborhoods with highest policing standards. Okay, well, I believe when I see it. Coming from a Republican, I believe it when I see it. Commit to working on a Second Step Act. I think wasn't this enacted? The Second Step Act. Access to better education and job training opportunities. Dope. Give black churches the ability to compete for federal resources for their community. Give black churches the ability to compete for federal resources for the community. This needs to be this is gonna have to be meticulously. All right. I've heard some horror stories about some black churches, man. I'm just saying, you can't get this money to everybody. You gotta be very careful on who you get which black churches you get this money to. We should be focused on. In my opinion, we should. This the money and the resources and the tangibles need to be focused primarily on black business owners, because these are the guys that's going to employ blacks in the communities, so that we can enact a proper group economics within our community, so that the communities can grow, similarly to how white communities grew when they separated from large cities across large urban environments. If that's confusing to you, like what I'm trying to say is, especially in Chicago, but when there was a time where a lot of where large cities were built, and those cities were highly diverse. Like people of all over was just congested in these major cities. And the racism back then was just so profound, so ingrained into American culture, that it was repulsive for a white person to just see a black person in their community, right? And whether that was primarily and exclusively emotional, if that was exclusively an emotional response, it still held tangible and economic and resource centered ramifications. Does that make sense? This is what I mean by that. When you practice group economics in the community grows, and everybody in the community benefits from the community, right? So if a small city keeps the economy growing by everybody spending within that community, within that city or whatever, over and over again, and the money keeps being extracted from other communities into these major cities, so the money keeps bouncing around in the communities over and over again. The money and the abundance of resources grows and grows and grows. Everything about the community will grow when money is poured into the community, and it doesn't leave until every dollar, every cent is being used for its intended purpose, and that's growing for the growth or development of communities or cities or towns or townships, what have you. But so let's take it back again. Let's take it back a step again. That'd have been a perfect world if had the whites never left the big cities out due to racism. They would have stayed in these cities, and they would have grew. And Chicago would be a much more it'll be in a much better state than it is now. I mean, downtown Chicago seems to be doing well. I would imagine. But had what I'm about to explain to you hadn't come to fruition, it would be much more things would be much more better. It just flat out would be. Anyway, so what ended up happening was these white people were so repulsed by the diversity that they moved out of these towns, right? They created highways that literally shot through black communities. They shot through established and well-off black communities, and to create these suburbs outside of the city. And these suburbs were white dominant, completely and utterly white dominated. And you can ask any Chicagoan. Chicago is one of the most segregated. Chicago is one of the most, well, not just Chicago, but Chicagoland, like the surrounding counties of Chicago are heavily segregated. So again, they shot these highways through these black townships and all over, right, and created these white dominated suburbs. And what happened was these white suburbs were already being cultivated by the whites cultivated. They were being built by the rich whites that lived in these communities, right? So these wealthy whites, they created businesses, they created well, it wasn't even just. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't even just the wealthies, because like there was mom and pop shops all over the place, right? So they were actually. I do believe they were given. There was government incentive to for business growth. Within these alternative communities, right? So like I said, so these mom and pops grew. They grew and grew and grew. They became corporations and business. McDonald's came in. Everybody started building business in these smaller communities, and they started garnering money from visitors from other countries. So the economics was being directed to these suburbs, and then like as the businesses did well, as the business continued to do well within these communities, because the people within the communities were only buying within those communities, the money bounced over and over and over and over again within the community. So they grew and grew and grew and became well established suburbs, right? That's where you got, if you're from Chicago, that's how you got your Overland Parks. That's where you got your Tinley Parks. A lot of West Chicago, white suburban West Chicago, like Elgin. I mean, then like the northern parts like Elgin, Elmhurst, all of that stuff. Then airports is being built. O'Hare Airport, Midway, all of that stuff. All of that stuff started because whites separated from the big city of Chicago and practiced white group economics to the umpteenth degree. You know what I mean? So and that's pretty much how suburbs was pretty much crafted. Black churches. Okay, I almost forgot why I even started talking about all this stuff. But yeah, so that's how communities were built. Like it didn't like. Because all this started from when we was talking about the churches, the black church. He was going to give money to the churches, and I say we need to give the money to these businesses, because by that same token of how these communities how these suburbs were built outside of the city of Chicago, how they just grew into the powerhouses of suburbs that they are today. It started by investing into the businesses. And this platinum plan, it seems cool, right? And he is obviously of course he's putting giving some love to businesses. It's right here. I mean, I'm not saying this. Come on now. I'm just saying I think the money would have been better allocated had we just given less work, less help for these churches, and even more resources towards the business, because the business is what's gonna grow these communities. I mean, we got, like I said, blacks, like not just blacks obviously, but so many people have like such a huge reliance on big corporations like Walmart, big corporations like McDonald's, and all these other guys. And yes, they do pay their taxes. Yeah, they do contribute to the city and stuff like that, and to the town. However, the economics, the money will run better. The money will benefit. I'm sorry, the resource will benefit the community better if the only restaurant you can go to in the town is a mom and pop shop. Because the mom and pop shop, the money's not going to go anywhere. The community itself is going to feed that mom and pop shop, and the mom and pop shop is going to essentially literally feed that community, feed the community back. All right, what a digression. I apologize, but that's gonna be good for the content. But yeah, man. So yeah. If they want to do that, they're going to do that. Otherwise, bring better and tailored health care to addressing historic disparities. Bring better and tailored health care to address historic disparities. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like he's talking about including what black women are going through at childbirth. That's what it sounds like to me, you know. And I think that's valuable. But so I don't know. Like I just think like this stuff should have been advertised better. Maybe he didn't advertise it because maybe he didn't think people. He thought people would have hated this type of stuff. That maybe that was the problem. But yeah, if black women if this information got out how it should have gotten out, black women wouldn't have voted over 90% Joe Biden if they knew they were being directly included into this platinum plan. All right. Immigration policy that protects American jobs. Oh, immigration policy that protects American jobs. Oh man, immigration policy that protects government jobs. I'm afraid to even talk about this one, man. Remember what I said about racism? Remember what Dr. Claude Anderson said about racism? This is part of that. When the idea of racism was adopted. It wasn't adopted. It was the idea around racism was changed. How do I want to say this? We're gonna say it. Okay. I'm gonna just bear with me, right? Bear with me here. Assuming that Dr. Claude Anderson is right regarding the history of racism, assuming that to be correct, we can. It's safe to assume that the Democrats, no, we're not going to say Democrats. We're going to say liberals took the idea of racism and changed it into something different. Racism, by Dr. Claude Anderson's interpretation, is a literal foot race. It's a horse race, right? It's a race where groups of people are essentially fighting for land, resources, and opportunities. And I'm gonna just put it out there, man. Immigration, if you're not tough on immigration policy, that can spell trouble for black Americans. Here's how. If this nation was primarily imagine this crazy, bizarre world where America was only inhabited by whites and blacks, and Mexico was flourishing. Mexico was flourishing to the point where there was no need for immigration. That meant like Mexico was essentially like another Canada. Like that's how good they were doing. Government, like the government, politics, the economics, everything in Mexico was going just as good as it was in Canada. It was going just as well as it is in Canada. Free healthcare or something like that, right? And for the most, so that, like I said, that would allow for a reality where America wasn't getting a lot of illegal immigration from Mexico. What reality that would have made was the lower income communities, or not lower income communities, the black communities would have been primarily ran and operated by black Americans. I believe that America still would have been about as racially divided as it is today. It's just that the communities that where black people are in, those communities would have been not just dominated population wise by blacks, but the municipalities, the local business, um, labor, all of that stuff would have just been black focused, and the wealth disparities that we see today would have been, and it would have been a completely different. It'd have been a completely different situation. Arguably, blacks would have been in control of just as much wealth as they are in population. So I don't know what the numbers would have been looking like population wise during this time, but I'll guarantee you one thing: if blacks were in control of like the policing and business and economics and all of that stuff within their communities, we definitely be high. We definitely have a higher population size than 14%. Our numbers are being attacked by our men by way of gun violence and by our women via abortion. That's just the facts, right? And had we have had a situation where our economic strength was being completely and utterly controlled by primarily black Americans, there would be significantly less gun violence in our communities, and there'll be significantly less abortions within our communities. One thing that Ye has been trying to instill, what he's been talking about, was giving women alternatives to abortion. Say, hey, don't kill your kid, right? Don't kill your baby. Let's just just turn them over to this adoption agency. Turn them over to this orphanage. Turn them over to this other type of program that can give this child a chance to live, so that when maybe someday later, when you're more financially ready, or when you're in a better headspace to come visit your child, or whatever you want to do, take them back in if need be. You will feel much better as a person without that guilt on your shoulder that you killed somebody that you could have seen grow into a fully functioning adult. Just putting it out there. I do believe, I as far as abortion rights and all that stuff, and the Roe v. Wade and all that stuff, I'm staying out of it. But I do believe in the Bible, and I do believe, and I do understand the argument of pro-choice. I mean to say pro-life, but I do understand people are in really, really bad situations economically. It just is what it is. But I just see the benefit of keeping lives alive. I do understand the ramifications for that, and I do understand the pros of that also. So you know what I mean? So anyway, so yeah, gun violence. I mean, we don't have to talk about gun violence. That's obviously bad. But it'll be significantly less gun violence, and it'll be significantly less abortion. So we will definitely have a much higher population size than just 14%. Anyway, where did I even leave off at on this? I'll be going crazy, man. Financial literacy. Yeah, okay. Immigration policy. Oh boy. So yeah, like I said, had we just, like I said, in this bizarre world where every country, or at least on the Western Hemisphere, was doing financially okay to the point where Mexicans can stay Mexican, right? Canadians can stay Canadian, and all of that stuff, and Americans can stay Americans. The numbers will be drastically different, and crime and murder and all that stuff within our community will be just completely different. Anyway, so that's just, and that's like the perfect world, in other words, right? That's the perfect world where if everybody stayed in their own place and handled their own problems, the perfect world will be crafted. And but the perfect world can't exist. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to find a gray area between the perfect world and reality. And that gray area is immigration policy, right? So we're not gonna be able to. We're not gonna be able to fight. We're not gonna be able to form a reality where there's just absolutely no. There's no need for. I'm sorry. How do I explain this? There, like, in reality, in our current reality, there's not there's we're not gonna be able to. We're always gonna have immigration. There's always gonna be immigration when we're living in reality. But what we can do is kind of fend off the possibility of overpopulation by way of actually enforcing some strict immigration policy. You know what I mean? Like, immigration is okay, and like this nation was founded on immigration, true. But you have to take note. You have to be aware of like the benefits of keeping the borders secure. You know what I mean? It can overpopulation can have drastic ramifications on local economics, and the reason why it especially affects Black Americans is because we're the ones that have a Black business ownership problem in America, right? Because we're the primary communities that have all types of people making money in our communities and extracting that money out of their communities into their own communities, or into their own cultures rather. And that's part of the reason why we just can't that is the primary reason why we can't practice group economics as effectively as those white suburbs, you know. So try to keep all this stuff in perspective. That was a tough one, man. So like I said, man, please don't hate me about my feelings towards immigration policy. I think I do believe it's necessary, but I also believe that we need to understand that humans are humans. You know what I mean? It's a very, very difficult conversation, and it requires a lot of nuance and a lot of empathy to find a way that it benefits the vast majority, because not everybody's going to be pleased. This is what it is, especially in a capitalistic society. Okay, moving on. Advanced home ownership opportunities and enhanced financial literacy in the Black community. The housing market in America is absolute crap. It is absolute and utter crap. I don't have to explain it. Everybody knows this. Advanced home ownership opportunities and enhanced financial literacy in the Black community. Not the colored or the minority community. No, none of that. Like, specifically the Black community. Dude, if you don't know, I'm not gonna go through all of that. I'm not gonna do this. No, I'm not gonna do that. If you don't know the importance of home ownership and land ownership in America, if you don't understand that concept, then you need to go to YouTube and find somebody that specializes in real estate. And its opportunities real estate can influence on in your pockets. Real estate is big money in America, and if you don't understand how important real estate is for Americans or in a capitalistic society, then you need to educate yourself, because I'm not gonna do it. not in this live stream. Advanced home ownership, yeah. So the next one here is onshoring manufacturing to advance jobs and develop opportunities for Black-owned businesses. He's putting a lot of emphasis on Black business, because Donald Trump understands that the best way to grow communities is through his businesses. So Well, I mean, this how this is okay. Well, what it is, what it is. And then we got a lot of stuff. We're gonna just kind of speed past this because we already well past 2 hours. Uh, Black economic empowerment and access to capital. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Reach even a greater level of historic employment and wage growth of the black community set in 2019, and that anyone looking for a job gets one. Seeking infrastructure and funding that will lead to widespread growth in the annual 500 billion federal contracting opportunities. Grow minority-owned businesses with additional tax cuts and stimulate the hiring and investment. Grow minority-owned businesses. I will okay. And this is that thing that Dr. Clyde Anderson was emphasizing. When we use words like minority, we're adding extra people into something that's supposed to be tailored to black people. And he like. This probably why Ye was trying to reach out to Trump. He was trying to get him to understand that, hey, oh boy, he was trying to get him to understand that, hey, when you use words like minority, when you use words like colored folks or all these other weird words, you're taking money out of the people that you're trying to shed the spotlight on. You know, so we gotta put that in perspective here. No offense to anybody else. Please, no offense. I'm just being as objective as I possibly can. Anybody, and hey, I want to put this out there also. Anybody that has any type of rebuttal against anything I'm saying, anybody that want to accuse me of racism and all that, hey, sound it off. Let me know, and we can even have a conversation if you so chose to. But everything that I'm saying, everything I'm saying here is not coming from a person that's advocating for Black Americans. My logic and my reasoning is literally rooted in empathy and in emotional, or not emotional, but intellectual, from an intellectual and an honest standpoint. That's what I'm trying to. So, like I said, if you can root yourself in empathy and intellectual honesty, address this conversation from those merits. Don't address this as, oh, you're just doing this because you're black. That's a cop out. All right, I'm not stupid. You're not stupid. Don't try to derail the conversation and get other people to think I'm a racist, right? Because I'm saying this, I'm speaking these things, and I'm black. We gotta cut out this intellectual dishonesty. Where did I leave off on? Grow minority business, encourage onshoring and development and domestic manufacturing. What the hell? Are you kidding me? Encourage onshoring and development of domestic manufacturing to increase supply chain business development and employment. This dude Donald knows. He knows business, man. He does know it. Examine barriers and employment, including fees, occupational licensing, and arrest records, inaccuracy, and encouragement. Oh man. I don't have to go through that, man. Increase activity and opportunity zones, including benefits for local hires. Invest almost 20 billion towards broadband and internet access to create jobs opportunities, improve classroom connectivity, and the ability to utilize telehealth services. He's addressing academics. Fueling access and capital for black-owned businesses. Increase opportunities for small business, leading to technical assistance through community development and financial institution in order to grow business and create generational wealth opportunities for over 400 billion in lending. It looked like a platinum plan to me. Examine alternative ways to build credit, including rent, utilities, and phone bills. He's helping black people build credit. Man, this is crazy, bro. The only man, I'm gonna say this now because I'm gonna forget to say it later. The only thing I can say, the only rebuttal I can kind of muster up to fight against this is he didn't. This wasn't advertised properly because he knew he would have lost voters if he were actually gonna instill all of this stuff. This is looking like, for me, this looks like the plan that all black politicians need to instill in order to garnish that or in order to gather the attention of black Americans across the United States. This is the plan. This is like the blueprint for black success in America. This is what black politicians need to start bringing back and start instilling in order to in hopes of fixing black America. All right. Oh boy. Jeez, there's so much to go through it because I have so much to say, man. Yeah, I just have so much to say regarding this. We're gonna get through this. This is gonna have to be a 3-hour stream if need be. Fueling. Let me see. Yeah. So the next bullet point here: fueling access to capital for black-owned businesses, increase opportunities for small business lending and technical assistance through community development and financial institutions in order to grow a business and create generational wealth for over $4 billion. I said that already. Examine alternative ways to build credit. All right. Make the Minority Business Development Agency permanent. Appoint its leader to assistant secretary and commerce level. Create a sub office of African American affairs and engage with private sector advisors to ensure real world plans and solutions. Oh boy. All right. I don't know, man. It's hard to read this and assume this man was a racist. It's hard to draw that connection, man. I'm just saying, like, this is the stuff that builds wealth and builds America to be great. I mean, black Americans to be great. That's how I'm looking at it. He did whatever. Anybody want to say something? I'm all ears, man. But let me get through this real quick. Increase the number of black-owned contracting businesses, financial services entities, and private equity investment funds through regulatory reform, and up to $40 billion in government funding alongside traditional private investment. Advanced lending relationships with financial institutions, particularly those businesses who weren't able to participate in PPP. Oh man, black folks got got their PPP loans even though they didn't participate in it. Hey, well, let's move on. Host senior executives from major financial institutions on a quarterly basis and advance new and equitable lending programs for black communities. More education opportunities. Education African American can choose. Federal, state, and local community partnerships to those failing schools that replace with, oh boy, man, I've heard so many people talk about schools being shut down across black communities. To replace with full school choice and education opportunity that put American parents back in control over their children's futures. Increase child care tax credits and provide greater access to quality preschool. It's crazy, man. Education. This is. Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not scroll down on this side. Here we go. There we go. Please pause and then read as you see fit. Because I literally have another thing. I have another window open in front of my screen, so I'll have to turn my neck. Apologies. But yeah. Better and cheaper healthcare, affordable care you can trust, reduce costs, and improve access to quality healthcare through HRSA. Deliver real price transparency so you can so you know the cost before care is received. Opportunity to be charged of your own healthcare and choose your own doctor, eliminating long-standing health care disparities. Investments into the causes and cures of kidney disease, high blood pressure disease, diabetes, sickle cell disease, maternal mortality, and other diseases that disproportionately affect Black American populations. Boy, oh boy. Increase access to telemedicine and innovate technologies to empower patients with flexibility and tools for better health. Public-private partnership to develop healthcare facilities in low-income areas. Defend religious freedom exemptions. If you didn't know by now, I'll state it here as clear and concise as I can. I Marcus, aka Higher Thinking, subscribe to Hebrew Israelite beliefs. I believe in the Bible. I believe the Bible to be history. I believe it to be a direct reflection of Black history, especially. And this here, defend religious freedom exemptions to respect religious believers and always protect life. That's going to benefit my people. That's going to benefit the people that I subscribe to. The people that I look to towards religious or spiritual understanding. Anyway, safety and justice. Continue to make historic improvements to the criminal justice system through common sense actions like the First Step Act, including increased use of drug rehabilitation versus drug incarceration. Yeah, that's something that's big. That's big among our communities, and it's something that can be help that can help Black Americans across the world. Anyway, Americans, not just the Black Americans, is what I'm trying to say. Announce a national clemency program to unite families and invest in human potential, focusing on wrongful prosecution and rehabilitation. Restore safety in Americans' great cities by working with police departments, community leaders, and mental health professionals to install the most responsive and professional and accountable models of policing, including diversity training and accreditation standards. If I said that wrong, please excuse me. Advance second chance hiring and get rehabilitated citizens with a criminal record back on the job. Prosperous Black communities. Champion federal policy reform to advance home ownership initiatives. Partner with local leaders and Black communities to ensure maximum federal support for neighborhood revitalization. Make Juneteenth a national holiday. Oh God. Make Juneteenth a national holiday. This is where my man takes me with that one. Make Juneteenth a national holiday. What this tells me is Joe Biden himself, Joe Biden was the one that made that a national holiday, right? He got that going. Thanks, Joe Biden. Appreciate you. What that tells me is, I'd argue that nobody was even thinking about making Juneteenth a national holiday before. Obviously people got in Donald Trump's ear to get all this stuff together. As this is his this is his this is like the totality of his understanding of Black Americans and what they need in order to be great in America, right? And it is to my understanding that if Joe Biden himself didn't read this platinum plan, his team did. And they picked out some things that they believe were viable in America that would have made Black people happy and would have made the rest of Americans happy. Right? So my problem is they saw all of this other stuff. They saw this entire platinum plan, and they cherry picked the stuff that they thought that would have been. They cherry picked the stuff that they were willing to compromise on. Okay, we can give them a holiday. Why not? But all this other stuff, $500 billion for Black people? I don't know about that. That's what I got a problem with. I'm not. They cherry picked some. They cherry picked the small stuff instead of instilling and addressing the stuff, the numerous ideas that would have brought Black economic power into a whole new game, a whole new ballpark. Oh boy. Anyway, prosperous Black communities. Last bullet point. Champion federal policy reforms to advance home ownership initiatives. Partner with local leaders in the Black communities to ensure maximum federal support for neighborhood revitalization. This dude was crafted this platinum plan to push past this whole step of social awareness and just go straight to the grassroots. He said, no, we're not. He's doing exactly what I say Republicans need to start doing. Stop being ignorant to Black struggles, right? And address Black struggles directly, and stop bringing on these BS talking points, these BS bad faith arguments to divert attention away from what we're going through. It's like by you doing that, by you being willfully ignorant, you're essentially watching us deteriorate as a society. By you just saying, I mean, and I've heard this before, Black on Black crime is not a matter of poverty and lack of opportunities, right? It's people making bad decisions, and it's just not true, right? When you choose a more honest approach, you will realize that these communities are in need of assistance. It's in need of stimulation, you know, and that's something we've been trying to reach out to these people to get them to understand over generations. This is what happens when you forego all of the nonsense narrative that we see. Candace Owens, that we see Larry Elder, Ron DeSantis, all of these guys, all of these people. This is what happens when you have honest conversations with the people on the grassroots. I know I don't. No way. I know I don't see what I think I see right here. How do I do this? There it is. I know I don't see what I think. Prosecute the Ku Klux. What? Prosecute the K's and Antifa. Uh-oh. Okay. He had to throw Antifa in there too. Baby steps, all right? Baby steps. We got to compromise somewhere. This dude, yeah, prosecute the K's and Antifa as terrorist organizations and make lynching a national hate crime. Joe Biden didn't do this? How come Kamala Harris ain't talking about this? How come Bill Clinton, any of these black governors or these Democratic governors across America, how come nobody is talking about this or has enacted this? Prosecute the Klan as a terrorist organization and make lynching a national hate crime? Lynching is not a national hate crime yet? Hello? And this was in the Blackman plan. Signed and dotted and the T's crossed by Donald Trump himself. Okay. All right. I can't believe that one. That one was that one was OD. All right, okay. Fewer black farmers and access to healthy foods to address food disparities. Favorable trade deals to bring back manufacturing jobs and help black contractors, farmers, investors, and consumers. Man, come on, man. I don't have to explain this stuff, dude. Defend religious liberty and African American churches that lift and conscious of our that uplift. Okay. I'm just so my brain is still blown from the freaking the K's bullet point. All right, defend religious liberty and African American churches that lift the conscience of our nation. Gotcha. Collaborate with cities and countries to address mental illness and substance abuse. Enough said. There's a possibility, right? There's a possibility that Dr. Claude Anderson, that Donald Trump had a conversation with Claude Anderson by one way or another, or even if it had been word of mouth. Maybe he didn't have a direct conversation with Claude Anderson, but looking at this platinum plan, bro, this was crafted by somebody that had a conversation with somebody that had very good understanding of economics. Arguably, these people that he had conversations with read these Powernomic books, to be honest with you. But there's other black economic books that out there and stuff like that.